Welcome to Her Fund Talks, the podcast where we will deep dive into gender conscious investment and female led innovation. I'm your host, Milena Stoycheva, and today we will have a conversation with an inspiring entrepreneur and ecosystem builder, Mariya Hristova. Mariya is part of Agriventures community, a non-governmental organization founded with the mission to support startups and innovators in the field of agriculture and food, and to facilitate access to European funding. She actively works to increase the market realization of scientific research by supporting projects aimed at startups in the food industry and biotechnology. Mariya is actively involved in negotiations for fairer agricultural support within the European Union, working for the development of the agricultural and food sector and for negotiating the position of farmers and processors in Europe with European institutions. She was elected as one of the 17 participants in the development program for distinguished Bulgarians at the world-renowned Babson College in Boston. This highlights her commitment to professional development and innovation. She actively supports the development of the entrepreneurial ecosystem by mentoring startups, innovators, and entrepreneurs who are seeking funding. And I've known Mariya because we've been working closely together in building that community and building the power of partnerships within the sector that is quite important and vital for competitiveness in our economies. So it's great to have this conversation with her. I'm looking forward to sharing with you insights on how we can further expand the work of this community and support more innovators. Welcome, Mariya.
Hello, Milena. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be part of the podcast. And and congratulations of all of what you and the team in the project are doing. I'm glad to be part of it.
Thank you. So I'm usually starting with setting up the problem space and some challenges. And let me ask you first this question. What do you think are and what have you observed are the primary challenges that female founders and entrepreneurs are facing in this particular sector? Because it seems it is a specific one, especially with the one related to development of life science type of projects and companies. Where do you see the biggest bottlenecks?
I'm really happy to participate because you probably know better than me that this sector has a lot of potential in terms of entrepreneurship and deep tech ventures to be created. My expertise is on agriculture and food, and I started to follow deeply the ecosystem years ago, and I have started to see the differences between the ecosystems, speaking particularly to our region compared to the Western countries, to Japan or the US. And there are many challenges if we see the ecosystem here in this region, but not only. Because if we see challenges for women entrepreneurs, there are many more related to women in the agriculture and food sector. I would like to point out some of them. Probably the biggest one is the access to funding. I'm sure all the participants in the podcast, in the project, the training materials have observed the statistics of access to funding for women entrepreneurs. But for agriculture sector, the challenge is much bigger. Um, they receive only 15%, and often in later stages of development of the venture, it's much harder to receive funding. And this gap is not something that just we can point out, okay, we don't have access to funding, we have to find another way. And the another way is the public funding. That's why we push for to support startups in a very early stage with public funding support, and to attract venture capital funds to see that here in this region we have a potential to create not only startups which are successful, but deep tech one, because we have the resources, and I'm sure all of the countries in this region has this potential. So what is very interesting is that um, we created a vertical in women entrepreneurship vertical in Agrifood, and we have started to communicate and to observe what are the challenges to our startups. One of them is the funding. The other thing is that venture capital funds are managed usually by dominated by men. They often don't recognize the potential of a certain social entrepreneurship initiative which could scale and could be impactful, for example, and successful, for example, for rural areas, or which could be, of course, as idea created by women, not by men. This leads to systemic issue for development of the society in rural areas, in terms of ideas which could be developed by women. And me personally, I can say a lot how challenging it is to be a woman in a very male-dominated world, and to prove that the ideas, the expertise are really important in terms of development and ecosystem building, for example.
Is it still the case that it is, or it's because of the sector that you feel it's dominated by men, or by maybe it's the stereotype that in this sector would be mostly male founders? Is it
I
in general, or it's more about the sector that it has to do?
I think there is a general issue, but in this sector, it's a bigger issue, because back in time, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, when entrepreneurship started in Bulgaria or in the region of Central and Eastern Europe, most of the entrepreneurs were men, predominantly.
Mhm.
And this now shifts to understanding that if you have the ambition to make a big and deep tech startup, then you would be much more understood if the founder is a man. However, I feel that things are changing in a positive
Yes,
way.
I think they are changing, and what you're doing is also contributing to that change.
And
It,
I can see this difference for a couple of years now. Back in time when I started to speak more about the ideas to support women and founders and innovative ideas, I felt in the communication that this wasn't much understood. Now people are curious, and men are trusting more to understand the ideas and to listen, which is a big step, I think.
yes. Well, I am glad to hear that. I know that it's very difficult to find funding. And here are two bottlenecks. One is related to funding in general for agriculture and life sciences, which has a much longer cycle. We've been talking about that. And in terms of investment, it's tough to convince somebody to wait 7, 8 years. This we know, unless it's a breakthrough. So from that point of view, it's a good approach to have public funding initially, even grants to be, and I congratulate you for driving this. But the second one is related then that you need to open it to make it also diverse type of funding for also female founders. So in this regard, I believe that building this ecosystem and related with it development as a hub in certain regions could be something that could support some of this mindset change and stereotypical change. This is why we created within her fund project also a way to connect less connected innovation systems with the more developed ones. I want to ask you, with regard to this, how would you define a less connected innovation ecosystem in the way, what would be the specific barriers that it has to funding for women startups, women-led startups in these regions that are different from the ones where there is a more developed innovation ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, this is a scoreboard which measures which country is doing what in terms of innovation. There are many indicators behind the score of each country. However, what is probably the most important is the access to funding. The second thing is the network. And the third thing is the opportunity of founders to be connected, not only in a national at the national level, but at European level through the network they are operating in. And this is very crucial for the development of ventures, and especially what you're doing is important in terms of supporting women-led startups to feel connected, to exchange, and to learn from the countries which have a lot of experience, and other founders who are operating in countries which are strong innovators, or let's say modest innovators. This exchange of knowledge and opportunities, connections, is really important when you start to do a business, innovative one, because the idea is to scale. The idea is to have the network and to have the opportunity and funding to scale an idea, not to leave it at national level. So in my opinion, this scoreboard is important. It shows how and where we could work better to be more innovative in terms of the ecosystem. I often communicate with different stakeholders, farmers, entrepreneurs, and big corporations. And sometimes this Brussels type of speaking is not very well understood, so I have to try to find a different way to explain.
A new language, right? Special, yeah.
Language. So I'm changing the language to be sure that I'm understood, because usually in the less connected innovation ecosystems, such as the region of Central and Eastern Europe, for example, some of the entrepreneurs understand the value of the connections and co-creation between the different hubs or initiatives that are operating or projects like her fund. So once you show the value, the different stakeholders understand what is the difference of less connected innovation ecosystem and a more innovative one.
Mm-hmm. So I think I would like to move to hear from a more general picture perspective, to hear what could be a concrete example that we can relate to. Can you share such an example from your network and experience where a woman-led female founder started a company, actually tried to fundraise or tried to get funding, even public, and what were the results, the outcomes of that?
Yeah, I'm really happy to speak with examples because this is the best way to show um, the topic in a very understandable way. We started to visit different universities, and speaking about less connected innovation ecosystem, we have discovered that the universities are operating in a very sinuous way, a very closed ecosystem by itself. And we started to bring different founders, to invite them, and to show the students, for example, students which are in a master degree for AI and digital infrastructure, to understand better what agriculture and food is. Because we think that the different universities should be more connected, and if we um, aim to have more innovative ecosystem which creates the environment for startups to thrive and to scale, then this starts from the universities. And the example that I would like to point out is one of the team that we have mentored, and they're part of our community from 2 years now. They're IT guys, if I can say. They started to develop agriculture and food innovative idea in the university, and currently they're speaking in front of a big stage at Forbes about their solution. We spent 2 years to mentor them, to provide opportunities for their solution, to validate it, to connect them with farmers, to the ecosystem, and to support them in getting funding. So currently they got approximately 200,000 euro to develop further their idea, and they're being recognized by venture capital funds now because they're more confident. And this startup is led by a woman, Teodora.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the progress in her for 2 years. And this is the case where it's what is needed is what the project shows, not only funding, but connections, a network, and support and training, because women need this training for to be more confident and to understand that what they are doing is really valuable.
Yes, a great story. And I think maybe because it's led by a woman, she's more disciplined, or and
Yeah,
I
this is
think
the
resilient in a way, right?
this is the
uh,
benefit actually. She's really ambitious,
yeah.
and she is learning very fast. She's adaptive, and I think these benefits should be used for in terms of the potential for
To the
scalability.
advantage of the business, also, yeah, business
Yeah,
growth and development.
yeah.
So, where do you see the future of the investment landscape for women-led startups? Is it how does it look like? Is there a potential? Do you see more opportunities, or do you see this shrinking?
Yeah, we have developed a tool in our community. It's currently used by the members, but it will be open soon for European startups to scan different opportunities for agriculture and food ventures. And we have seen that the number of opportunities for women-led startups is increasing. So what I see is that steps are made already in a positive way. What we need currently is to scale all of the initiatives and to co-create together to make the impact much bigger.
Yes.
Uh, in terms of funding, in the agriculture and food, this topic is really important. I have analyzed some of the OECD recommendations for policy development in the EU, and it's crucial to have a specific direction in the policy for support of women for access to land and different mechanisms which are important for the development of venture. But my idea as main sentence that I want to say is that the idea is not only to fix the funding gap, the idea is to replicate the successful projects as the HER fund is, and to make the impact much bigger in a very small areas in Europe, where understanding of this issue is not that known.
Okay. Well, these seem to be very good insights, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your, I think, commitment and enthusiasm to support female founders. I'm looking forward to working together to, as we've been talking, to co-create and form more opportunities and to see other good examples grow out of this network. Do you have a few final words to those that are watching the podcast or looking into opportunities to become founders or to invest in women-led innovations?
For what is really important is to be patient and to build a strategy for funding, either funding from private resources or public funding. There is this labyrinth of public funding support, but there are tools where you can navigate and continue and to be patient to know that each step in the development of a brilliant idea needs different sources of funding. And for the investors, the creative thinking and the ideas of women-led startups are have the potential to change how we live in the future, not how we live now.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariya. Looking forward to continuing our collaboration. I appreciate very much you being part of the podcast series of Her Fun Talks.
Thank you very much for the invitation.